And sometimes people like more resting meditation, sometimes people like, not sometimes, but some people have different dispositions, interests. But generally speaking, both of them are important. You have to start from the analytical meditation, because it's not easy to talk with our subconscious mind, it takes time. But then if you spend too much, like over-analyze, it may become a problem. Certain you have to stop and then try to remain on that certainty, that clarity mind, which comes from as a result of analyzing. And if you look at little bit like from the higher aspects of practice, then normally we use the word the 4 kind of steps, similar, but we use a little bit different term. Jangshi, Jongje, Jangja, Jangde. So we talk about the purification in this context. Yeah, we use the word purifying. So first, Jangshi means the basis of purification. And this is similar to, we talk about the view. So what is the basis of our purification? And the second one, what is the method? What is the antidote that purifies it? And the third is what is to be purified. So what are the veils? What are the obscurations? And at the end, when we know the basis of purification, the means to purify, means of purification, and which is to be purified, the obscuration, and by applying this means, when you purify the obscurations, what happens is that you reach to the ultimate basis. Means you know what is the ultimate truth. Not just only understanding, but with the experience and lesson. This is what we call the result of purification. So these 4 things. So if you are such as practice Vajrayana, you are doing these 4 things. By applying the second one, which is path, in order to eliminate the third one, which is the veil, on the basis of the first one, which is the basis, and in order to reach to that result. So you have a basis, antidote, obscuration, and the result. It is always in this framework. Whether you are practicing Mahamudra, whether you are practicing Dzogchen, or all these other Vajrayana practices. Now, just to make it, maybe to remember the word. Okay, so what is the basis here? Now I'm just saying this from the, actually it is mentioned very clearly in the aspiration of Mahamudra as a framework. So what is the basis? Basis is a unity of luminous and empty. See here, we are not using the word calmness. Remember, calm and clear, we will use the word luminous and empty. And what is the antidote? And then actually in the text it says that all these great seal yogic paths. So it includes all our practices. Even in the Mahamudra we have a Shamatha Vipassana, of course, Mahamudrik Shamatha and Vipassana, and also all the other Vajrayana practice like development stage, all these visualizations, everything includes in there. So what you do, all these is to realize this nature basis, which is nature of emptiness and luminous, which comes back to our Buddha nature or nature of our mind. So what are the obscurations? All these conventional experiences, duality, perceiving things as permanent, clinging to self, and on top of that, me, I, my, happiness, and of course, attachment, anger. So all these whole experiences you can call are the impure, samsaric experiences, illusions, which covers, which obscures the nature of this mind that is empty and luminous. So we have to undo this all obscurations. So what is the result? What happens when you do that? So when you peel out all these illusions, clingings, and then you go back to this basis, or the ground, nature of our mind, and when you recognize that, when you realize that, and this is what we call Dhammakaya. So when this Dhammakaya is there with obscuration, we call basis. And when this basis is, when you undo all these obscurations, and when this basis becomes a mature, when this basis becomes a clear, direct to you, we call it Dhammakaya. So it's our result. The unstained Dhammakaya, or Dhammakaya that is completely free from any kind of mental fabrications, obscurations, beyond any kind of extremes. So this is the general, very important framework of all, you can say, Mahayana in general, especially like Mahamudra, these things. And also you can see these are very much related to the view. For example, ground is related to the view, and meditation is related to the this second one, the path or the antidote and the result. So this is one way to understand, but I think also we can say that to sum up all our practices and say, okay, so how should I make my routine, so to speak, routine for my practice? I think the three things is very important. First one, knowledge. So you have to have a certain kind of knowledge, yeah? You have to know what to do, how to do it. Because if you don't have any kind of knowledge, there's nothing to be started on. But knowledge doesn't really mean that you have to know everything. It doesn't really mean. So you have to know what is necessary for you. So knowledge is important, but again, not like over knowledge. Yeah? Necessary knowledge. That's important. Because sometimes when we say knowledge, we think, I want to know everything and then I will start practicing. Yeah, that's never going to happen. It's impossible. It is almost saying like, I want to become a Buddha, then I will practice. So prepare, read, study, get teachings, but do it practically. Yeah, like not just to accumulate so much information. That's not necessary. Get what is necessary knowledge. Second, structure. What happens is that, as I say, we listen this, we read that, but then as long as you don't make a structure, it's like you don't know where to put your knowledge. It is like you're just randomly picking up the pieces of puzzles. So you have to know which part of these puzzles goes into which box. You have to have this labeling boxes. And then no matter what you read, what kind of teachings you get, you will always comes down to the one point and say, okay, so this goes here, this goes here, this click. This, how to say, it will make relation. It will fit. I think fit is good. So you see the full picture, rather than knowledge structure. So structure, usually if you read the teachings, the structure is already there. It will tell you very clearly, this is going to practice, you do this, you do that, you move on. But of course it's impossible, especially for the lay people, to follow that kind of structure. So based on that structure, you can make your own relevant practical structure. Not like, oh, I will meditate in the morning, I will do puja in the day, then it doesn't happen. Okay. So maybe 10 minutes meditation. Make a structure based on the text, ritual path, whichever tradition we practice. But then similar, make like we can have this long-term structure, short-term structure. But it has to be a practical, doable, not too excited structure, where you do it for 1 week and then you lost even the paper. And then make relevant structures. What I mean is that if you are anchor person, make a anchor-based structure. If you are attachment kind of person, because you have to take medicine according to what disease you have. So you have to really check yourself and see what is your biggest problem, and you start working from there. And then you really make very clear, like, okay, so 6 months I will this happen, 1 month and 1 week I will do this. Really you have to have like this daily routine, practical. This you can improvise, and of course if you have to need, you can get some advice from some teacher, they will give you some advice. So I'm an anchor, so what kind of meditation I should focus on, or I have so much attachment, so which book I should read, this kind of things, we can do that. Now the third thing is, again, I've already said several times, but continuity. You have to have a courage. You have to have a patience. Remember, like investing in hydropower, or like the Zen master says you have to have that belief, to trust that even you're walking in the fog, even you don't feel immediately this getting wet, but still each step you're becoming more and more wet. So you have to have this, what you call the broad-minded. It's very important, because we are not doing small things. Our project is very big. We are doing something for enlightenment. Imagine that to make one samsaric small things, like even to make one proper food, how much of effort, patience, resources that we need, right? And now we are doing something for enlightenment. That is very big vision. And for the big vision, you have to have a big patience, a big mind. If you have a small mind, then it's impossible. So when you have a knowledge, I usually call it in English KSC, knowledge, structures and continuity, just to remember. knowledge, important to know the limit, yeah? Doesn't mean that reading everything, filtering knowledge in the body. Structure, you have to make long-term and short-term structures. That has to be practical. And continuity, whenever you feel a little bit exhausted, you should always remember what is your goal. I'm doing this for enlightenment. If I do this, I will be liberated from samsara forever. Yeah? And how much effort that we have to put in small things. Right? We're doing something very big job. And not only for ourselves, for everyone. So, usually in our tradition, whenever we feel a little bit exhausted and in the practice, we advise to read the life story of the masters, such as like Milarepa or your own guru, or there's many life stories of gurus, how they practice. So these are not just a story, but these are the actually guidance for us, showing through their life stories that these are the difficulties and these are the what you should do in order to overcome. And and daily practice, as I said before, is important. Even though it's just for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but doing continuously. Yeah, not uninterrupted practice is very important, because it's creating this habit. If you interrupt, then habit cannot occur. So yeah, I will stop here and yeah. So I guess we finish the meditation part, and among the view, meditation and conduct. But I was trying to focus more on general in practice, of course, and also I think there's many good texts about the actual instructions, or maybe there's a lot of teachings about the actual meditation, how you can do. So maybe whatever is you think relevant, you can practice that. Sanam Deyen Amje Sepani Omne Nyepe Ranai Kamjene Kedana Chimbalai Trupai Sipe Solen Drowai Sho.
By this merit may all attain omniscience, may it defeat the enemy wrongdoing, from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of samsara may I free all beings.